You're listening to Underworld on the Ghost Radio Network.
Ghost Radio Australia.
Listen.
Hauntings. The unexplained. Synchronicity. EVP.
So why are you?
I heard that.
Absolutely fascinating.
What are Min-Min lights? Is it real? What do you think?
I love you.
The unseen.
I'm alright.
1111. Who or what are mutilating cattle?
Listen.
Poltergeists. Your stories. Your experiences. Listen close.
Blossom Goodchild is an author, actress and professional direct voice channeling medium, working with spirit and cosmic energies. Recently, Blossom has stepped forward with a channeled message from the Federation of Light that has set the internet abuzz. Why? Well, this dialogue is a detailed contact message, which includes the date of October the 14th, 2008, and the location this contact will take place. Welcome to Ghost Radio, Blossom.
Thank you very much indeed, Lia. Thank you.
Now, we're going to get into the contact message and the October 14th stuff in a little while, but,
Yep.
you know, there's more to you than that. You've been doing this stuff for a very long time, so I want to give people the background and understanding of just who Blossom Goodchild is first.
Sure. I started channeling White Cloud, who is a Native American Indian, 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that came about because for 17 years, I suffered from some form of illness that no doctors or psychiatrists, indeed, or anybody could find out what it was, whereby I would fall on the floor and it would assume to anybody that was present that I had passed out, but I actually was aware of everything that was being said and I could hear everything, but I just couldn't communicate in any way. I couldn't open my eyes, or if they said, could you move your finger, Blossom, to let us know, that you can hear us, I couldn't do that. I just wasn't able to do anything. And these went on and off for 17 years, and I had brain scans, I was tested for epilepsy, all sorts of things, and literally nobody could find out what the problem was. I eventually had, I was with a very gifted clairvoyant lady who was staying with us, and I was having another session of these attacks, and she said, within the few years, this was sort of 9 years ago when this all started, but in a few years before that, I'd always been interested in the spiritualist movement, and I'd started to do a little bit of healing. And when I say a little bit, I mean like 2 or 3 times a year. And when I was healing, I was very aware of this Native American standing behind me, and one time I said, may I know your name? And I didn't hear telepathically. I got White Cloud. And that's literally all the sort of feelings I had. It was no more than that. And then when I was having this particular illness again, this lady who was staying with us said, Blossom, I've got your Indian with me and he won't go away, and he's showing me as if he's looking very frustrated and as if he's wanting to talk and saying, could you get a pen and paper, and he will speak with you, and he wants you to write some things down. And I'd been very interested in the spiritualist movement for 20 years or so it wasn't something really bizarre to me. So I got a pen and paper, and I sat down and I literally put, I don't know, what you want me to say. And within that, this huge input of information came through to me. I just couldn't write quick enough. And he said that we had agreed to do this many moons ago, and that if I was still up for it, he'd like to actually speak through me, and would I arrange a meeting, and he would channel through me, and it was my choice as to whether I wanted to do that or not. So I said, oh, well, fair enough, and I got the meeting together, and literally I I'd been to a few meditations and that, so I knew to sort of protect us all and keep us in the light. And I just chocked away type thing, really. And I started breathing very deeply, and my body started shuddering, and there was no fear at all because I knew we were in the light, and I just knew this was sort of meant to be. And then I just felt this I felt his energy come in, I suppose. I didn't leave my body at all. I'm always in the left side, and he comes into the right, and we somehow meet in the middle. And I opened my mouth to speak, and this very deep, broken accent voice came out, and he spoke for 3/4 of an hour. And he asked me in the writing, when he first communicated, would I tape all that, because he wanted it to become a book. And that's how it all began. And literally I always forget to say this, so I'm remembering now, from that day forth, when I wrote in that book, I have never been ill since. The illness completely went away, and he has said that when we've asked him in meetings that there was just so much rewiring and changing of energies going on within my body at that time. And I used to say during those spouts, I felt like I wasn't quite on the planet, and he said, you don't know how true that was.
Wow.
So that's how it all began.
So it was a retuning of your frequencies that physically was making you experience symptoms and stuff that made you feel sick, basically. And
well, yeah, apparently. I mean, it was more than I literally, if I'd fall on the floor and I was out of it, literally people would call an ambulance, and I could hear the ambulance men. They weren't able to get my pulse, and apparently I'd turn grey, and, it was really quite frightening looking at it from the other person's point of view, apparently. It wasn't very, very pretty at all. And it was very, I look back now, and that was sort of just over 9 years ago, and they were, for 17 years, I suffered from these on and off. I might sort of have them for 6 weeks and maybe have 1 to 5 a day for 6 weeks, and then literally in the blink of an eye, literally I'd be back, and they'd go away for 3 or 4 months or whatever, and then they'd just happen again for another maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And they were such a big part of my life, obviously, because there wasn't a lot I could do during the time when I was sick. But now it's just weird, because it's just like it never happened to me, really. It doesn't seem like it was really part of my life, because they've just gone away. They just stopped that day, So that's sort of, in myself, I think all of us have times in our lives when we question, I don't know whether we question what we do, but just, sometimes I've had things and I think, no, I could never stop doing what I do because of what it took to get me to do it, if you see what I mean. So, for me it was definitely a truth, and the love that I feel for White Cloud and the love that he brings through is something, when you've experienced that, there isn't a way in the world that I would ever sort of say, no, I don't want to do this anymore, because it's just quite phenomenal the level of love that he brings through to one and all. It's just quite amazing.
So it started off as automatic writing, and then it sounds like you just slipped into channeling really, really easy. Were you ever frightened? Did you ever kind of think, whoa, what's going on here? Or did you just say, yep, okay, I'm up for that, and just slipped into it?
I was never frightened, because I knew to protect myself, and I'd had a few experiences, way back regarding teaching me lessons about making sure you're protected and in the light, which I don't particularly want to focus on. But so I'm always very, very strong about saying to people, just don't muck about with this kind of stuff. You have to respect it. And I was never frightened at all, because I knew I was protected, and everything always felt so right and full of love and of truth. And even, years later, when I started channeling other beings, cosmic beings, would we say, or higher spirit beings, then again, there was never any fear, because White Cloud is my gatekeeper, so nothing untoward could ever possibly come in. And if it was to be that I ever felt anything awkward or uncomfortable, then I could just switch off completely. Do you see what I mean? Because I'm in total control of what is going on. So although it's White Cloud speaking through me, I am totally aware of everything that's being said, and I could tell you it all afterwards. When we finish the session, and if the phone goes or anything, it's not like in the old days where you sort of if there was a sound made, that you could drop down dead, I believe.
Yeah.
If you'd left your body. Whereas now, I don't think channelers work that way, direct voice channelers work that, or need to work that way so much, perhaps because the vibration is a lot higher than it used to be. I don't really know, but certainly no fear at all, because I always protect myself and ask to be safe and warm in the light. You know.
Has White Cloud given you any information about what heritage or tribe he's from? Have you?
Yeah, it's a funny thing, this, because it's odd, Leah, because he has confirmed, somebody sent us a book once about people being regressed into other lives, and there was a lady that was regressed, and she went back into being a sort of a young girl in a tribe, and White Cloud she married him and had his children. He was a great crystal healer, and that was in the 1500s and in the Apache tribe. And he confirmed, when somebody asked him, that yes, that was him. And because there have been other White Clouds that people have said, was that him? And he said, no, that was not me. And so that's what he's confirmed. But in all honesty, I don't know why, but I don't feel that comfortable about saying anything of that. And as he says, it really is irrelevant as to when he lived, because this is the guise he comes through as in this way, because it appeals to a lot of people, whereas because Native Americans do, I suppose, and that I'm not disputing the fact, because he always says his last lifetime upon this earth was indeed as this Native American. So whether that time is correct, I'm not sure, because what he asks us to do is to listen to what he has to say, and when he actually lived and everything wasn't of great importance, although he has spoken sometimes regarding how when he last lived on the earth plane, how they respected nature and their ways of living, and how very different it was then to how it is today,
Yeah, for sure. Now, all of this happened while you're in England, because you emigrated to Australia 7 years ago?
It'd be 8 years in December.
With your partner and your son. And I would presume that White Cloud kind of okayed this or even arranged
he
it?
More than okayed it, yeah. Because he said, when I first came out here with my husband, my sister already lived out here, so we came out here on holiday, and it literally was one of those, I should think many, many people have experienced this wherever they may go and wherever their soul's home is, in that I got off the plane in Brisbane and walked outside, and literally it was as if my soul said, "You're home, Blossom, you're home." And that's what I felt like. I really, really feel this is my soul's home. And on that holiday, I don't know, my soul was just so alive, really, and I just knew that this is where I was going to be. And White Cloud, and my husband and I were walking along the beach one day and one evening, and I said, we could have this every day if we wanted to, and it's just shall we or shan't we type thing. And White Cloud sort of said, that you won't have any trouble because this is where all your work is going to take place. And indeed, we had to sell everything to get out here. We had a huge sort of garden sale and sold everything. And the only thing we had to do, which we weren't that happy at the time about, was to get married, because both of us, my partner and I, we'd been married before, and neither of us wanted to do it again, really, let alone doing it because government told us to do it. So we did do that because we had to, and that was absolutely fine, because we're, I know for sure that we're lifelong partners this lifetime round, so that was no worry, really. And we got through, we sailed through, and with no money at all, whereas I know that many people who had loads of money in the bank, were refused. So it was obviously the place we're meant to be, and I just love it here in Noosa where we are. It's just such a special, for me and many people, such a special spiritual energy here. I know that this is where we're meant to be, and where my work indeed is and did take off.
Fantastic. Now, I just wanted to touch a little bit on some of the other cosmic energies that you mentioned before. You also channel, what should we call it, an energy base called the Friendships? Yep.
It's interesting that, because that was maybe I don't know, I'm not very good with time, 4 or 5 years ago, and one evening we were having a meeting, and there was about 12 people that used to come regularly once a week to a meeting. I'd invited a certain group of people, and we used to meet once a week, and White Cloud was channeling, and then I suddenly felt the energy change, and I started doing all this deep breathing, which I usually did at the beginning when White Cloud was coming in. But again, there was nothing to fear. I just thought, oh, I want, what's happening. And it was very, very strangely, because I felt myself, I felt as if my neck was stretching and my arms were stretching, and my hands went into the shape of my thumb and first two fingers together, and my other two fingers were closed in. So there was just 3 digits, and it sounds very cliche maybe, but I really felt like I was looking like I don't like to say alien, because I don't think they like the word alien either, but just like a star being, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when they went to, and then all these calculations whizzed through my third eye, and I believe now that they were working out how to speak, or my language, or whatever it was, and I thought, well, here we go, and opened my mouth, and they came out in this very high-pitched voice, and they said welcome or something, but it literally, I'll try and do an impression, it won't be very good, but it was literally like, welcome, and all this. It was like, what is going on? So, and they spoke for about 10 minutes, I'm guessing here, but they didn't really say where they were from. They just had an awful lot of love, and after that session, afterwards, I was like, we all obviously had a cup of tea and a bit of a chat about it all, and for me, I'd always believed in life on other planets, because I just couldn't, for me, I can't possibly see how this little pixel of Earth could be the only thing in the universe. So I've always known there was life on other planets, but to be honestly, I'd never really gone into it, to be honest. And then this suddenly was all a bit different, and so it made me open up and question so much more, because I'd never thought about them being higher evolved beings of light. I'd just never gone there, if you see what I mean. So that opened up a whole new world for me, and they started visiting regularly, and we called them the Friendships. It just seemed an apt name for them, and they used to come through and speak and just say, they said that how their planet was of crystal, and just taught us different things, but basically, like with all beings that come through, and with White Cloud, it is the same message, and that message is love.
Yeah.
There is no differentiation, in any of that all these, I believe, higher beings that come through, and I guess I'm very privileged, because when they come through to me, I know that I've seen people burst into tears as soon as the voice comes through my mouth, because of the energy that they bring, and so people obviously can pick up on that loving energy. But for me as well, sometimes as they're coming, beings are coming in, I can't help it. I burst into tears, and then I have to, my left side of my brain's going, pull yourself together, Blossom, pull yourself together, because I have to speak, because the vibration of love they bring through is so much higher than mine, and it sort of topples me over, I suppose, a little bit, because my energy is not used to that higher level. It really is it leaves you in such a peaceful place, and it really is an absolute honor, I have to say.
Fantastic. And it's about this time also that the Federation of Light energy started to come through. Is it about this time?
No. That came about because a few years ago, I wish I was good with my timelines, but I'm not. I think maybe about 3 years ago, possibly 4, I went to have a reading the day before my birthday with a lady, and I only ever have one a year, if that, really. And this lady said to me, Spirit was saying to her, you've got to be getting on with your book. And I'd written the 3 White Cloud books at the time, and to be honest, they weren't exactly getting hot off the press, and they were saying, we want you to write this other book, and I said, well, quite honestly, I'd like my other books to start first. And she said, no, this is different. They are, whereas all the other 3 books from White Cloud, they were all recorded and then transcribed, because people then would ask him questions and he will give his opinion on all matters. You know, so many questions that people have asked, and that all his opinions are covered within those 3 books. But so that was different, because that was just transcribing the tapes and putting my little 2 pennyworth in. Whereas what they were asking me to do was to sit at the computer every morning for half an hour. And the words I was given by this lady was it would be White Cloud's bosses that come through. But I don't. That's another thing I'm not sure about really on the precision of that. But I thought, oh well, here we go again. So I sat at the computer and I literally said, well, I've been asked to do this, and I tuned in, and that is how I started writing the bridge. And it appears, I think, that in the beginning of writing the bridge, it was the I am presence, it seems, and then somewhere along the line, the Federation sort of took over, and Rick Halstead, who is my partner who helped me with Golden Rays, he's not my husband, he's a bloke who came along and heard the channeling with White Cloud and was so affected by it. He lived down the road and just came along and said, look, Blossom, I just want to help you in any way I can to get your books published, etc. And so he is now sort of my partner in all that, to help me deal with all these things. And he said, what point did the Federation come in? I said, I've got no idea. It just sort of flowed, and that was and I did that for a year. And I can only be honest in that I think I'd heard of the Federation of Light once before that. I had no idea of the Galactic Federation of Light and how huge it was and how people had been channeling them for 20-odd years. I just hadn't gone there. I just didn't know anything about it. So when they were coming through, for me, because it was telepathic and not White Cloud and not speaking in the way he did, I had a huge process within that year, because I had to question myself and some of the stuff they were saying, and I'd just down tools and walk off and cry and just go, no, I can't do this, because it was telepathic, and what was coming through, I just thought, well, is this me? Is this you? I don't know, and then the response that the bridge had, they said the bridge is preparation for their coming. And now, obviously, at the time, I didn't know they were going to give me the responsibility of giving the date. I just knew that ships were going to come and present ourselves to us. And so the response that book had, it seemed, when people read it, they just said, oh, it just made me connect with home. And because of that, when I sort of got I don't know, I just felt as if the Federation was saying to me, start another book, which was last December. So I just started doing it again, and this time was so different because of the response the bridge had. I stopped doubting and questioning all the time and putting my tuppence halfpenny worth in and ruining the link. I just was like, right, what do you want to say? And anything that came through, I just go, all right, and I just write it. I just stopped questioning, and it was just so much easier. Much easier. Well, and sorry, should I carry on? Or
I was going to say, we'll give the books a plug now so that people can. And Blossom's webpage is blossomgoodchild.com. It's all available from Ghost Radio's webpage as usual. You can click on through, see Blossom's very beautiful face there. Click on through to her webpage. You can get the books from her webpage, the trilogy, Walking the Light and the Love, the Spirit of White Cloud, and A New Dawn. And her latest book with the Federation of Light is The Bridge. All of those books are available from Blossom's webpage. You can also view her blog. You can also view where she is doing her other actressing type work, which we'll get into in a minute. And also, if you're in Noosa, you can get a personal reading. It has to be personal, though, no phones or email or anything like that.
Yeah.
Now, I love the fact that you've said you've been honest, because I've been following this for a little while. I first heard about the October 14th date when I went to a remote viewing lecture a couple of weeks ago. And one of the questions presented to the man who was giving the remote viewing lecture was, a lady named Blossom Goodchild has said there's going to be a contact event take place. Could you remote view that? And, of course, my ears perked up and I thought, Google that when I get home. And, of course, I did Google it and found your webpage. And one of the things that struck me first off was your honesty. Was you've just, like you said, you've just kind of, this is what they told me, and this is, and you've put it out there in all of its rawness and all of its bareness. And I would imagine it must have been something. How long did you think about it before you put it up there, Blossom?
Couple of months. I know that might shock many people, but I think they asked me in May, and they said in October, we want to, it was interesting because if I could just say, there's also an e-book out now of the 5th book, which is called Snapshot, and that was the book I started writing last December, and because it just seemed everybody wanted to know more, Rick said to me, look, I just woke up this morning and we need to get Snapshot done, and there was about 170 pages of it then that I'd already done, and he said, I think we put it out as an ebook so people can get the lead up to how this all went on, and then if I could just say at this point, so we did that, which was up until a week after I sent the letter out on the email, and then from then on, any channelings I've had from the Federation go onto my website. You'll be able to, they can find every update of channeling that I've had since I sent the letter out. But when we were editing, going back and looking through Snapshot, and you see, that's a funny thing, because when I started writing that 5th book, I said, okay, what's the working title for this? And they said Snapshot, and I thought, well, that's a ridiculous thing. What does that mean? And I thought, okay, Snapshot, and I won't question it. But now I do wonder, I don't know, Leah, but I do wonder whether it's going to be that when we actually get that as a hard copy, whether it's going to have a picture of the ship on the front. I really, who's to say? I don't know. But at the time, I knew nothing about what I'd be doing. But as we were editing it, back in February, I read, and they'd said to me, we are going to ask of you, Blossom, a task so huge that you will question your credibility. And, when I read that back when I was editing it, I thought, you're too right.
You thought terrific,
and so then in May, when they were saying, we want you to send this letter out to leaders and governments that on October the 14th will be coming, literally as those words, were coming through telepathically and I was typing them, I, in myself, was saying out loud, no, because I thought, you're joking, surely not. And I put it on the back burner because I thought, I can't do this, how can I do this? And I told maybe 3 people, that they'd asked me to do this, and we were having a bit of a laugh about it, saying, hello, is that the President, Blossom Goodchild here? I thought, what do you say? What do you do? And then when I was sending the edits through to Rick, I just used to send him the updates, and as I channeled them, and he said, look, Bloss, I've just read this bit, and, what are you going to do? I said, oh, Rick, I don't know. And he said, well, you have to do something, because, and I knew I had to, because if I ignored it, Leah, then it would be saying to myself that I didn't believe in my work.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So I thought, well, and so Rick suggested, look, we'll write a letter and we'll send it out to, at the time I had 128 people on my newsletter, and we'll ask them to pass it on, and then you've done your bit, and we'll just see what happens. And I thought, yep, I know I've got to do it, but I was really, really scared about it. And anyway, I was channeling, and I said to the Federation, I like to call them the Feds, I said, is there anything that particularly, I said, okay, I'm going to get this letter out for you, is there anything particular you want me to say? And they said, there is indeed, and we'd like to write it for you. So they channeled that now very famous message, and I was like, well, cool, there we go. And Rick wrote a bit at the beginning about Blossom Goodchild as a direct voice channeler. I wrote the bit at the end because there was this little bit of a thing for me about Alabama, because they said we will be in the southern part of your hemisphere, full stop, and we give the name Alabama. Well, of course, Alabama, when I looked it up, isn't in the southern hemisphere. And so I put that as a question at the end, and they said to me, if you look it up, in days of old, it used to be. Well, I've had hundreds of letters from people telling me now how that it used to be, how the earth has changed, etc., and that it could well have been. But I have to say, I know I'm digressing a bit, but I do think this is important. I don't I don't think, I could be wrong, I don't know more than anybody else, but I don't think it's going to be in Alabama. I don't know if Alabama's the name of the ship. Different people are saying so many things about it, and they've actually said they are not going to give the location out until it happens.
Yeah, it was kind of a cryptic, wasn't it? We give you the name of Alabama.
I don't know why all these little pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, why they're doing all this. It's the same thing they've given out about snow cones and setting people off on a real little journey there. So, so I just needed to say that because there's so many people saying it's going to, there's things all over the internet saying ships going to appear in Alabama for 3 days. Well, I didn't say that, and nor did they.
It's
you
not.
See what I mean? It's
if you go
people
to
are making their own things up, and that's the way it's gone, and that's the way it's meant to be, obviously. But I don't know, and maybe they will appear. So anyway, to get back to that, so the letter was ready to go, and it was all on my computer, and I was sitting there on my own going, can I do this? Can I do this? And I closed my eyes, and I just said, white cloud, is this the right thing to do? And he just showed me, because we work in pictures a lot, he just showed me a boomerang being thrown. And in my soul being in that instant, I just felt, look, what you give out comes back, and I just thought, here we go. And I pressed the button, and to my 128 people.
And off it went.
And as you know now, we're, just on, I think there's now about 40 YouTubes out, and they're up to 500,000 hits, and, I think it's about 34, 35 pages if you Google my name of links. I mean, it's just taken a life of its own.
And that letter that Blossom and I are referring to is on the Ghost Radio webpage in its fullness. It's also, of course, on Blossom's webpage, so you can get up there and read it yourself. But it is the thing about, there has been channelers before who have mentioned, that contact would be made, etc., but Blossom and the Federation have basically said October the 14th, and we give you the name of Alabama, which is a little cryptic. It doesn't say we're going to land in Alabama. It says we give you the name of Alabama, which, as you've pointed out, could be the name of a ship.
Yeah,
who knows?
I don't know.
But
apparently there's a town or something called Alabama in Australia, in Queensland. Apparently, so a couple of people have told me it's about 1,000 k's away from where I am. So who knows? Some people are saying Australia. Some people are saying South Africa. It's going to be, there's just so many things, and to be honest, Leah, we're not going to know till that day comes.
And some of the other things that...
We'll know for sure, won't we?
Yeah, and some of the other things that the letter says is that are just as important is, again and again, I've seen on your web blog when I went up there today, they keep confirming, it shall take place. They say this is the beginning, not the end. And again comes that, don't be scared, don't be frightened. We're not here to take over. We come in peace. Fill your souls with trust and love. We're coming to assist. It's all up there. You can see it for yourself. But so, Blossom, since this has gone out and you've had these again, when I read your blog today on your webpage, I was struck again by your honesty and your rawness. Like you basically said to them, you guys have got to come because I've basically just put myself out there, and they're again walking you through it, saying it's all right, Blossom, we will come, and all of that. But it did take tremendous courage on your behalf, and as you say, it was a real test of your inner strength and of walking your talk, I guess. That's what you've been writing, and that's what you're going to put out. But I wanted to touch on a couple of things. Within the message, it says that we will stay for a period of 3 of your 24-hour Earth periods. But then it says that no contact will be made. So from what I understand from that, it's going to be a dirty, great big ship somewhere in the world. But there's not going to be any, shall we say, landing or any kind of interaction?
No. What they've said here, and I'll just correct you with all respect on dirty grey ship, I think it's going to be the most beautiful, beautiful ship of light and colours. I think we are all going to be in awe of what this actual ship is going to be like, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And they have said, they say, I was thinking, 3 days, it's going to be here for 3 days, but if you actually look at the message, it says for a minimum of 3 of your 24-hour periods, so it could be longer. I mean, it's again something we don't know. And they have said there will be no contact, because they've said that just doing what they're going to do by appearing in the skies for that time, that's going to be more than enough for our planet Earth to cope with. Because, and believe me, with all respect to everybody and for their own truth, but, you know, some of the stuff that people have been writing to me and writing on my blog, really this world needs to wake up a great deal, because, you know, I've been accused of, I am, to many people, apparently I am Satan. And the Bible has been saying this, that for, you know, these lights in the sky or something, I don't know. And, you know, there's a lot of people that are still, in all love, they're very asleep still. So they're saying that some people will literally, just by them appearing, some people, sadly, will have heart attacks and die. Some people will go mental, because they and when I, you know, when I read some of the things people are saying to me about how insane I am, and, you know, and don't be ridiculous, there isn't life on other, outside of this little planet. Well, when they see the ship, that is going to be enough for now, because, and that's what they're saying, is that they are, that's all they need to do is just present themselves, but they are also bringing through a vibration of love to us, and we will be able to feel that if we stop. And again, you know, as you said, they are saying, that's why I think they asked me to let the world know in advance, because we have been, seeds have been planted within our beings for years of fear, of things from other planets and beings from other planets. And look at all the movies that are all out there to create fear into our beings regarding these beings. And this is what they are trying to tell us, is that they are coming in love, and that we have to, those that know, and I've had many letters, and I've known this for years, of people saying, I don't know my purpose, Blossom, I want to know my purpose. And now people through this have written to me saying, I've dreamt about this all my life, and I know my purpose now, that when this ship comes, I know I'll know what to do. And I believe there are light workers all over the planet that will suddenly come into action, and they'll know what to do to help, to take command in the sense of helping and assisting those that are so afraid. Because it really is a matter, I believe, and this is what the Federation of Light are asking for, that if you stop and you just breathe and you listen to your soul, that you will feel the truth in your soul of the love that they are bringing through. And I think, again, that's something we cannot conceive until that happens. We can't really know what they're talking about. And they have said that when it's time for them to leave, they will leave, and they won't come back, they've said, for quite a while. This is what my lot have said. You know, there's so many other channelers saying different things. Excuse me, and I'm not disrespecting them in any way at all. Their support has been phenomenal to me. But they're saying they will go, and they won't come back for quite a while, because it's going to take us all time to take in what's taken place, because there's going to be a huge awakening on our planet, and we're going to need time for our vibration to settle down, and everything to settle down, because it's going to change so many things.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
so many things are going to change, and yet they also say there will be people who see it and they will still deny it, because they simply can't cope with it, you know. It's just... And the fact, Lia, to me, I was thinking this on the beach today, to be honest, I was having a little cry on the beach today, going, oh my God, it's, it's 3 weeks tomorrow. It's not 5 years' time. It's not, it's 3 weeks tomorrow they're talking about. And like you say, and that's what everybody's saying about me and to me, that never before has anybody given a date. They've said, I mean, I've been talking for years in my little talks I do, saying, I'm telling you, these people, these beings are going to come, and they're going to bring love to us. And I've had no worries about that for a couple of years. But to actually, as you say, have the courage to say, here is a date, on which they're coming is a totally different thing altogether. And many channelers have said, yes, but this can all change to do with so many, and to do with our safety, and to do with so many things. And, that's when I said to them, hey guys, I don't care what the trouble is, get there on the 14th, because it's, I'm beyond worrying about my street cred and all that. That was a little joke at the beginning, but my journey in this last 7 or 8 weeks is, I've gone through 1,000 things, and it's not about my credibility anymore, but what it is about, if they don't show on the 14th, it's no good showing in December and me saying, oh dear, I got it, I was a bit late on the date. If they don't show on the 14th, I think so many people on this planet will be just take it as, oh yeah, we've heard all this before, why did we put our heart and soul into it once again, and to be let down, and I think the energy level would go down, the disappointment would be vast, because I've just had so much mail, and if you look on the net, there are, as much as there are people saying I'm an absolute nutter, there are so many people just living for this day to change our world back into the beauty that it should be, and indeed the people living on it, don't you think?
I agree, and I had a bit of a giggle today when I was reading your blog, and I must say, before I decided to do this interview, I sat down and I read everything, and I thought, how do I feel about this? And my response was, I feel, and I had a discussion with a couple of other friends, that I want to do this show. I'm placing my trust in what you've said, basically.
Thank you for that.
And hoping to somehow help you and contributing to getting that message out, because what you've just spoken about is very true. I can imagine the amount of people who are attacking you, and for that, my darling, I'm wrapping you in as much as I can.
That's what's so lovely, Lia. So, as much as I've really learned that all the negative stuff I just have to send away with love, and not to judge anybody, because they're just coming from where they're at in their journey. That's all.
But it will be.
At the same point, it can sort of, when you've been living a life that's just been so lovely and fantastic, and then suddenly you send this particular letter out to the world, and you're being attacked from all sides. It's a very new experience, but it's also opened my eyes so much to the fact that, well, God, no wonder they're coming, because really, look at the state of affairs, just on that scale of things, how there's so many people living in this dreadful, fearful state that just, are too afraid to wake up to themselves, etc. And, on that note, I really do thank you for inviting me on, because I know I have friends as well who, they've had to go through their own thing to have the courage to send that letter out to their email list, just my mates, because they know what certain responses some of their parents or whatever their friends might have, because you have to be really brave to do that. So they're sort of saying to me, hey, Blossom, I've sort of got a bit of an inkling of what it must be like for you, but I really do, I've had one fantastic letter from a man who was finding it really difficult, the fact that I was charging for my ebook Snapshot. And he asked me if I could explain why I wasn't giving it away free, because he found that a bit difficult to deal with. And it was about 10:30 late at night, and I wrote him and I said, you are the third, I think I have one more person left to write to tonight. I've been on this machine for 8 hours, I do this for free, I do that, I do everything, I do my healing, and I have to pay my bills. And because he said, what would stop me just sending out your ebook, which I purchased, to all my friends? And I said, if it is in your truth to do so, then please do that. I'm not going to stop you, but what I would ask is that you feel the truth about this message and get people to understand and let go of their fear. Well, Lia, that man wrote back the most heart-rendering apology, I can't tell you. And since then, he lives in America, he writes on my blog regularly, defending me, bless him, but he has also printed out thousands of that letter, and he has a shop, he has a store in America, and all his staff go and put that letter onto people's cars, and there's a letter put into every single shopping bag. Now, to me, that is just, over and above the call of duty. And that was from a man who was, and he says he has days when he bursts into tears thinking, am I going to be proven to be totally insane? And I think, try being me, pal. I think we all have, and of course I do, I have days when I just literally think, what is all this about? I can't believe this is actually going on. And then I have days of absolute knowing.
But I liked that about you. I liked that when I read on your blog. You're just very raw in your emotions and kind of, letting everybody know how you feel. And what made me giggle was you referred to in your blog as well. You said, guys, wouldn't it have been better to get Wayne or Oprah to do this? And that cracked me up. I just laughed. And, having spoken to you this evening, I think they picked the right person, Blossom.
Oh, how kind! Thank you.
Now,
Thank you very much. I was talking to some people today that are helping me keep up with all my website and things because, from having 128 members on my updates, I've now got 1,100 or something, and all these things I've had to try to learn to keep on top of. But I think, as well, with everybody, it's just, if we know this in our hearts, you know what I mean? And there's something, I don't know what it is that has made that one particular, and I hope it is truth. I hope it is truth, Leah, that that letter has taken over the internet. And I'm hoping that it's because of truth that has been allowed to happen. Because why else would it be so, is my question,
Yeah.
Why? So there are many things that go out and they get thrown in the bin and this, that and the other, but this has just taken off. It's been interpreted into different languages, and the other day Brazil got hold of it, and it went on a YouTube in Brazilian. Well, there were 5,000 people visit my site that day from Brazil, and they're all longing for it because it's just amazing what's happened. But I had a letter from somebody the other day, and you get these things and you go, oh, how marvelous! And this guy sent me a letter, and there is an instrument that Wayne Dwyer talks about this, about what level vibration something calibrates on, and I don't really understand it all at all, but I remember hearing Wayne Dwyer speak about it on a CD, and I don't want to get figures wrong because I'm not very good with it, but I think Jesus Christ apparently resonated over 600 or at 600, and that within itself raises a vibration of millions on the planet. I hope I'm getting this right. And this chap had got there's an instrument that calibrates the truth of documents and all things. And so he had this, and he typed out my letter, and he did this thing with this instrument, and it came out at 960, and it only goes up to 1,000. And he was so shocked at the level of it that he then sent the letter to the man who makes these instruments, who then did the same and confirmed that it was indeed 960. And there is only one other book that they've ever come across, and document that has resonated that high, and that is, oh God, I can't even remember. It's a Buddhist manuscript or book or something like that. So that, for me, that kind of thing is like, oh, it's all right, Blossom, it is all right, it's going to be all right.
Yowzers, yeah.
Because that's quite amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing, yeah.
It's quite amazing.
Any idea on why? I've been racking my brain. I don't know why. I think because being heavily into numerology and all that type of thing, I'm thinking, why October 14th? What?
There's a very... He might be really cross with me, but there's a young man that's been in contact with me through this called, he goes by the name of Zingdad, and there's a lot of his YouTubes now gone up, and he channels Adamu from the Pleiadians, and there's just something very, very truthful about his channelings, I feel. And he actually wrote to me, and I can't say this is necessary, I don't have any proof of this, but I think it resonated well with me in that the Federation asked me to say that date because somebody had to do it. And by putting that date out, because I think it would have to be around this time anyway, and I don't really know why that is, but by giving that date out, that then allowed the consciousness of people on the planet to bring that into reality, if you see what I mean.
I do see what you mean, yeah.
True or not, I don't know, but you know, if we could all go on saying, oh yes, the ships are going to arrive one day and they're going to be full of love and da-da-da-da-da. And I mean, they have said to me in my channelings, you know, when I was questioning all this, you know, they did say to me, and quite rightly so, they said, do you think we were just going to go on talking about this, Blossom? And I thought, well, yeah, good point, actually, because if they did go on and on just talking about it, I'd have been going, here, you're full of talk, when are you going to show up?
Exactly,
and
exactly.
So they then gave me the date, and I really think maybe that perhaps that is a fact, that we needed something more concrete to grab hold of in order to manifest it, if you see what I mean.
I do, and I think you could be completely correct. I'm probably just getting, you know, I was thinking maybe it's an astrological thing, you know, Pluto's in the right spot or something. I don't know. I was just getting hung up on the actual date because that's my thing. I love numerology. But
yeah, and I really don't know. There's something there which, because figures, believe me, you and I probably wouldn't get on at all, because I cannot understand figures. I don't. Somebody gave me a present to go and see a numerologist, and the poor woman nearly burst into tears because she said, "You don't want to be here, do you?" And I said, "It's not that." I said, figures just don't happen in my head. You know, they really don't happen. But somebody has said something about have you come across this? That if you minus 10 minus 14 equals minus 4. Now then, would you go minus 2008 gives you minus 2012.
Okay, yeah.
Now, does that make sense to do with the 2012?
Yeah, with the, yeah.
They encounter. Now, I don't understand all that, and I might have given that all to you completely wrong. But somebody has said that somewhere about how about this for the numbers, if you minus the date or something, you come up with 2012.
It's because it's interesting because, you know, it like what we were talking about before, you know, Alabama was mentioned, but it didn't say we're going to land in Alabama. And so I Googled, and my husband Googled Alabama. And in Wikipedia it says Alabama is the name of a Native American tribe whose speak a language by the same name. The name Alabama means thicket clearers. And
clearing the thicket, that's right.
Yeah, and so you start, you know, I think what you've just said is correct. People start putting their consciousness in on that date and Googling things and trying to find the numerology of things, but what it all does is sends the collective consciousness to that point.
Yes, and I think, you know, my best mate, we go for walks on the beach and we talk about this, and we sometimes have a bit of a laugh saying, oh, perhaps we're just really simple, but there's so many people saying, can I ask the Federation this? Can I ask them that? When are they going to appear? What time? Where? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. What are they going to do? So many questions, and I just don't work that way, as many people might well know, but I think, you know, we just have to sometimes just accept what we're given and allow that to be, because I know with the Federation, you know, the group from the Federation that I work with, they will say whatever they want to be known. Mm-hmm. And if I ask a question and they don't want it to be answered, they simply won't ask it. I always feel very uncomfortable in myself asking questions. And maybe that's an issue I have, I don't know. But so I know and I trust that anything they bring through is what they desire to be known. And I feel that now we're all aware that on October the 14th, this huge happening in history, please God, is going to take place. So I think we should just all start accepting that in love, and they are asking us now to send out that vibration. And they've just lately in the channelings, they've said, listen for it, like animals hear whispers on the breeze. Just start listening on the breeze, and sending out the love, because, you know, 3 weeks is so close, and it's gonna work. I don't think they're just going to suddenly go, whether here we are, coming ready or not. I think there's going to be so many little things happening within the next 3 weeks that are leading up to this. And I think they've asked us, you know, to prepare our souls. And I think in the way we can do that, prepare our souls, is to switch off and just connect with them in love. Because I would imagine they need an awful lot of love as well, as we do, in what they're they've been planning this, they say, for eons of time, and they are in great anticipation of how it is all going to go, because they're not mind readers, they are light beings, and they are very surprised at our reaction to all of this, and they're having to gauge all that. And so that is one thing they're concerned about, is our reaction, because they want this to go as smoothly as possible without, without, I say it lightly, causing not too much commotion, which I think they might well do.
Well, I'll tell you what my reaction will be: about time.
Yes.
That's what my reaction...
People say to me, what will you do, Blossom? What will you do when you either see it for yourself or you hear it on the news? What are you going to do? And I said, I know I'm going to fall on my knees and sob, really, as a thing of relief, as everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
the fact that, whoa, this is really, really taking place. And my soul knows it is. But we are human, aren't we? And of course we have all this indoctrination embedded in our beings throughout centuries of time, and so for it to actually be a reality in our lifetime is quite something.
Guaranteed you'll get yourself a spot on Oprah then.
You won't be the first person to say that to me.
Blossom.
I just think, people say to me, Boss, are you prepared for what's going to happen to your life after all this, And I just think, hey, if this is my purpose, if this is what I agreed to do on some other level, which clearly I must have done, I must have been drunk at the time, I think.
Cosmically drunk,
if this is what I agreed to do, then I think we just all know. And I have to say that the little talks that I do around, I've done some in Brisbane and here in Noosa, and I do an hour of my own talking, which I'm sure I'm linked in some way, and then I do an hour's channeling, and I have to say I really, really enjoy it, and it's just talking about love and things I've learned through White Cloud and good ways to live your life, and I just think, well, if that's what that's going to bring, and that I'm able to present those practical ways of living in a better way to a lot of people, which I have been told that is what I'm going to be doing, then I just think, well, hey, how honoured would I be, really? How lovely to do that, enjoy what I'm doing, and hopefully help people on their pathway as I go. And that might sound a bit like, girl, what's she about? But really, I'm sure we all know when you're assisting somebody on their spiritual journey, it's just very warming. It warms the cockles of your heart, doesn't it? Because you know that you're just assisting them move further into the light. That's the way I sort of look at it. And as White Cloud says, if we can turn one soul around from the dark into the light on your pathway in a lifetime, then you have done well.
That's, I agree. And again, Blossom's webpage is blossomgoodchild.com. Get on up there. You can read the letter. October the 14th is the date. What we've been talking about tonight, what Blossom's saying is very important. There are going to be a lot of people who, through their upbringing and through what they've been taught and what they think they know, are going to have all of their reasoning shattered, and it's going to make them question themselves. So it's really going to make us pull together, and that's the serious side of this, people, that, we really do need to take care of each other at that point. So once we've all said, told you so, we should then jump into, now come and give me a cuddle, everything's going to be all right, because that's going to be important.
That's the thing, people say, you'll be able to say to people, da, 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 and all this. But really, as the Federation say, and I know you're saying all that jokingly, is that, all these people that are battering the whole situation and saying it's just ridiculous and this, that, and the other, it's only through their insecurity, and I feel, and their fear, and this, that, and the other, and when people say, will you forgive them? Well, there's nothing to forgive. They're just they're just on their journey, but as you say, there are, I think, already light workers. Some people have written and said to me, Blossom, it doesn't matter whether that shit comes or not, because what you've done is you've just lifted the vibration of the planet, because you've brought all light workers together. in some sense, and I think this is what it's doing on its own anyway. And I think when the craft arrives, I really just think there they just say be joyous of this occasion, be joyous of it, because we're going to. I feel we are going to experience a love and a joy that we had no idea existed. Now, hey, let's look forward to that.
I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely.
Blossom, you've been very, very generous with your time tonight. I am truly appreciative. I'm appreciative of your courage, and continue being as raw and as honest and as open as what you have been, because I personally am grateful for it, and I'm grateful that you've given us this time this weekend. Thank you so much.
Lia, can I just say to you, thank you very much for your courage in having me on your show, because I understand, believe me, what that is all about, and I really appreciate your kind words, because everybody that sends them to me, I really accept them with love, because I'm in
As they are sent.
So much to you and to John. Take care.
Okay, that's Underworld for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay safe, and blessings to you all.
You've been listening to Australia's own Underworld show with host Lia Ramses. The Underworld show is produced in Perth, Western Australia by iProdigy Communications exclusively for the Ghost Radio Australia and the Ghost Radio Network. Tune in every Sunday at 8 p.m. Perth time to hear fascinating guests and topics such as the one you just listened to. For more information on upcoming guests, events, and breaking news, visit www.underworldshow.com or www.ghostradio.com.au.